Velvet Al here with another installment of Velvet Al Watches Movies so you don't have to. Changing up the format a bit because my podcasts have been getting a little too long, which kind of defeats the purpose because if you're going to sit there and listen for that long, you may as well watch the movie yourself. So, switching it up instead of doing straight audio commentary as I watch the movie, gonna watch the movie in about like 5-10 minute chunks and do a quick summary of what I've watched so far. So today we're watching Vampz, which the description is the uneasy friendship a goth vampire wannabe forms with a ditzy cheerleader backfires when her new friend attracts a psychotic vampire hunter to them. And with a description like that, how can you not want to see this movie? So I will watch it and determine for you if you really do want to see it. So the movie starts off with a title card saying Chapter 1, I Am a Vampire, duh. Setting the scene for, I guess, setting the tone. And guess it's good because they were getting like that literary feel of chapters. I like when movies do chapters. So we start off with a montage of three people talking, and it seems like they're interviewing to be this girl's roommate, the girl being the vampire, since at the end she does tell us that she is a vampire. Duh. The three people were this black woman, Neckbeard, and this guy that kind of looked like a mix of Ali G and Jamie Kennedy at his worst. And it was one of those montages where they cut so that the next person sounds like they're finishing the first person sentence. So the movie starts in earnest with Vampire Chick doing her makeup and getting ready to be a whatever she's planning to do, but then her fang falls out because surprise, surprise, she's not a real vampire, despite what she just told us about her being a real vampire. Duh. She is a pretend vampire, and her twin brother, who's a complete nerd, or not classic like pocket protector, thick rimmed glasses nerd. I mean like video game playing nerd. And he's making fun of her for not being able to find a roommate and for pretending to be a vampire. And then the doorbell rings and there is a cheerleader, which I'll mention she's black. I feel like, isn't it weird how you kind of have to mention that, like, it's sort of that, like, I don't know if it's quite institutional racism, but it is like a prejudice that if you don't specify the ethnicity of a character, people just assume white. And it's probably something we should all work on. So, in order to be fair, the vampire girl is white, and obviously so is her twin brother. He's white as well. And she makes a point to point out that they're fraternal twins, which is kind of, obvious on the fact that one's a boy, one's a girl. So at the very least, their genitalia are not identical, and therefore they cannot be identical twins. I learned that in school, grade school. So get with it, vampire girl. Anyways, black cheerleader, she's at the door and just shining bright, like just a light of, I don't know, goodness is coming out of her. And vampire girl is ready to close the door on her, but vampire girl's twin brother, we'll just call him twin brother to make it shorter, he brings her in because, duh, she's a cheerleader. And I guess he thinks he's got the moves to get it on. And while they're talking, we get a missing reel, like one of those fake, like, oh, because this is, like such a low budget grindhouse thing. But you know what? Fuck you, movie. Because obviously, like, you cut like 10 seconds of conversation here. That is not a missing reel. A missing reel would jump to the next scene because reels are generally like 10 minutes. So you're trying to tell me that this conversation went on for 10 fucking minutes? If so, then I'm fucking glad that you lost that reel. And so even though Vampire Chick does not want a black cheerleader to be her roommate. Twin brother convinces her that she has to pretty much, because apparently 32 potential roommates have been rejected, and there's no way for Vampire Chick to make rent on her own, so she's gonna be. It's a wacky sitcom. Like, maybe this should have. Is this a pilot for a sitcom? You know how sometimes they do, like, the extra long episodes to be the pilot? Like, it just seems like a wacky sitcom, like Vampire Chick and Black Cheerleader. Except they probably wouldn't call her Black Cheerleader, so it'd be more like the vampire and the cheerleader. And there's a car on stakeout, and it's wannabe Ali G guy and his Indian friend. And I feel perfectly safe in saying that it's an Indian. It's not being like my racist, like jumping to conclusions, because the license plate did say Punjabi. Is that how it's pronounced? Punjabi? Punjabi? I should really know that because there was the Punjabi prison match in WWE. Anyways, they're on the stakeout because they think Vampire Chick is a real vampire. And so, he was one of the attempted roommates. So that's a crafty plan there. Like, become her roommate and kill her in her sleep. I'm guessing. That was his plan. Maybe it's not that crafty, but I think it's a solid plan. And then cheerleader, she starts unpacking. Yeah, I'm just gonna start calling her cheerleader. I feel bad about going with black cheerleader, because I'm gonna assume that she's probably the only cheerleader in the movie. Anyhow, if it turns out there's another cheerleader, I'll revisit what I'm gonna call her. But for now, she's just cheerleader, and she's unpacking. And Vampire Chick just already hates her because cheerleader is a fan of the Twilight movies, which I agree. If you're a vampire, you should hate Twilight. That's, lots of other people have gone into why Twilight's horrible. You don't need me to go into it. And she also likes Justin Bieber, the cheerleader, that is, not the Vampire Chick. So that's 2 strikes against her. Vampire Chick does not like cheerleader. And now we get a glimpse into wannabe Ali G's apartment, which I'm going to now just start referring to him as Vampire Hunter instead, because it looks like the Ali G thing was just his disguise. So his apartment looks pretty cool, very gothic. He's got lots of weapons, axes and stuff, and a guitar, a bass guitar. And what more could you want from an apartment? And of course he's got one of those boards, because all crazy people have those boards with all sorts of clippings put on them, and then the red string from one clipping to another, which personally I've never quite gotten the red string. I mean, I guess it makes sense and disconnects to that, but I just feel, I don't know, I guess I'm just not organized enough to really get the appeal of the red string. And then Vampire Chick has a dream, which is an obvious dream, because it's got like those like dreamy effects from a bad Marilyn Manson video. Which, isn't that like a little redundant? Is there any other kind of Marilyn Manson video? But like those really bad like goth metal videos from the 90s where everything just had that really dream quality. So I think like they were trying to go for like a surprise that, oh, it was just a dream, but like it was obvious. And she's dreaming that cheerleader chick is coming into the room and making out with her. And then at that point, woo! That surprise, like, gasp! It was just a dream. Even though it was completely obvious. And now Vampire Chick is worried that having a dream about cheerleader, making out with the cheerleader, makes her a lesbian. Which I think is kind of homophobic. Just open up your mind there, like Vampire Chick. Just because you have a dream making out with another woman does not automatically make you a lesbian. Sexuality is a spectrum, not a binary or trinary sort of thing. It doesn't fall into easily made categories. So she's an attractive cheerleader. So who wouldn't be dreaming about that? So Vampire Hunter and Punjabi Friend have pulled back up to the house because Vampire Hunter is all ready to go. He's roaring to go. He's giving himself a pep talk that keeps getting undercut by Punjabi Friend, who points out things like, why is he doing this at night? Which is a good question to ask about vampire hunters. Why do they go after the vampires at night? Go in the morning when they're asleep, can't handle daylight, stake the fuck out of them, get out of there. Seems like a more solid plan than, I'm gonna wait until night when they're awake so we can have the big fight scene. But Punjabi Friend wishes him luck because he wants to make sure that Vampire Hunter is still alive so that the next day they can go to JCPenney. I wish I made that joke up. That's what they said in the movie. And I'll admit, that's kind of a funny line. And we can see that Vampire Chick is serious about the whole vampire thing. Because we're in her room, and she's got a 30 Days of Night poster and a Lost Boys poster. Which, Lost Boys, awesome vampire movie. 30 Days of Night, a not so awesome vampire movie, but still better than Twilight. And so she's coming out of the room when, oh no, Vampire Hunter is here, and he's about to stake her in super slow motion. And that scares her, because, death would scare any of us. Just staring down the face of death with a giant wooden stake. And she admits that she's not a real vampire. But then, surprise twist that I did not see coming because I'm an idiot. Because looking back at it now, it should have been obvious. But Cheerleader Chick is a vampire. Real deal. She was fucking glowing, and she just pounces on Vampire Hunter, and just, you can't really see it because they do one of those, we can't afford, the special effects, so she's going to do it mostly off screen, but she's just chewing him up and just sucking his blood. And I tell you, Vampire Cheerleader, I'm sure it's been done before, but fucking hot. Okay? Combines two hot stereotypes. Vampires and cheerleaders. Stereotypical male fantasies. Put them together. That is fucking hot. But I do feel bad for Punjabi Friend now because this means they cannot go to JCPenney. I mean, he could still go to JCPenney the next day. Just Vampire Hunter Friend won't be there. And now we've reached Chapter 2, Just One Fix. Much like the Ministry song. Just one fix! Wow, that hurt my throat to try that horrible, horrible Ministry impersonation. So fake Vampire Chick is now freaking out because, she just witnessed a real vampire attack, and, it wasn't as fun as just watching it in the movies. And so she's whining, and Cheerleader Vampire is pretending to pay attention, because more than I would, because I stopped paying attention to her whining. Like, dear God. I mean, I understand it's probably traumatic seeing someone's face get ripped off, but, we've all got problems. No need to whine about it. Vampire Cheerleader is freaking the fuck out, and turns out Vampire Hunter does cocaine, which, in retrospect, kind of makes sense. And so now, since the cocaine was in his blood, it's now in her, and she's freaking out. She's having a coke freak out, and I'll just mention real quick, she's wearing a cheerleader outfit that has a V for vampire. And so fake Vampire Chick is offering to give up her blood because, the good, clean blood should counter effect the effects of the tainted cocaine blood, which, again, solid theory. I don't know how medically sound it is, but we'll go with it. It sounds like it's plausible. But Vampire Cheerleader does not want. She's tempted. She thinks about it, but she does not want to drink fake vampire chick's blood, which upsets fake vampire chick because she was hoping that this could become her chance to become a real vampire chick. And so they have a little heart to heart about how she's wanted to be a vampire since she was 14 and her grandmother took her to see Bram Stoker's Dracula, which is just kind of like fucking with my mind here because I was 12 when that movie came out, which means that if she had seen it when she comes out, that means she's in her 40s. Because I'm in my 40s. And she looks like she's more in her 30s, pretending to be someone in her 20s. Which is just kind of a complete mindfuck unless she's not referring to the Francis Ford Coppola film. But I think that's the only one that officially is called Bram Stoker's Dracula. And Vampire Cheerleader just thinks it's disturbing that, Grandma took her to see um this Dracula movie at 14. What's so disturbing about that? You're a fucking teenager. Maybe she said 4. Maybe I misheard it and it was actually 4, which would make a lot more sense time-wise and disturbingness-wise. But I think it's funnier to think that it's creepy to watch it at 14 and instead of her being a 30-year-old pretending to be 20, she's a 40-year-old pretending to be 20. So let's go with that. And now twin brother has shown up because he's completely drunk from a party he was at. So instead of driving home, he walked over since he was in walking distance to crash at his sister's house, which I commend him for being a responsible young man. So he comes in and they're trying to make him leave so he doesn't see the dead guy. And Vampire Cheerleader starts being flirtatious to distract him and asks if she can touch his hair, which, nice touch. I'm gonna guess that the movie did not intentionally do this, but it's a nice play on the whole, black people having to deal, especially black women having to deal with white people asking if they could touch their hair. So it's a nice reversal of that. And upon learning that Cheerleader is actually a vampire cheerleader, twin brother thinks that she's like 20 times hotter, which I disagree with him. At least 30 times hotter. Maybe 35, 36. So now the twins are trying to figure out a plan of how to get rid of the dead body, since they can't call the cops, obviously, because the cops would arrest Vampire Cheerleader, and that would be no good. Because even though fake Vampire Chick doesn't want to admit it, I think she's growing a bond with Vampire Cheerleader, and, if they're separated, how will they ever have their wacky sitcom? I do want to point out real quick that the title of this movie, Vampz, is spelled with a Z, and that kind of pisses me off. Well, more annoys me than pisses me off, because I think if you're gonna switch an S to a Z, it should only be done for a zombie movie, and as far as I know, there's not gonna be any zombies in this. But you know what? It might surprise me, and there might end up being a zombie. So, I'll quit being judgmental until the end of the movie, at least for the title. Now, twin brother is making a peanut butter and jelly sandwich because, he's probably hungry from being so drunk. When suddenly a mysterious person shows up and kidnaps him. I'm guessing it's Punjabi friend of the vampire hunter. And meanwhile, cheerleader vampire is all sad and upset because this is the first person she's ever killed. But vampire or fake vampire chick is consoling her and lets her know they need to do something about the body. So they go, but suddenly the body and twin brother are missing, and that brings us to chapter 3. all tied up. And it turns out Vampire Hunter is the one who's kidnapped twin brother. Um, he's still alive, so either he's some sort of undead monster creature, or that cocaine just really kicked in and brought him back to life. Which that would be just, I'm not gonna do the cliched cocaine is a hell of a drug quote, but cocaine is a hell of a drug. So they say. I've never actually tried coke, but I don't know, must be some strong coke if that's what brought him back. And so fake vampire chick called her brother's cell phone, and Vampire Hunter answered and, did the usual threat that she needs to come and bring the vampire cheerleader with her, and if she ever wants to see her brother alive again, and don't bring the police, blah blah blah. And so now fake vampire chick is all upset, and vampire cheerleader is upset because she's getting blamed, which, it is her fault. And now they've got a phone call from the Punjabi best friend of the vampire hunter. And Punjabi best friend is also, while he's on the phone calling, playing a video game, multiplayer online, like shooting game, and he's got his headset on. So it leads to a vaudevillian type comedy act where, he's talking to the guy insulting him online, and fake vampire chick thinks he's talking to her, and it's really kind of awful and horrible. And then, suddenly, well, let me go back, and she tells him that he needs to come pick up his friend because she's pretending that Vampire Hunter's still there, or else she's going to call the police. And apparently he didn't really believe that she was a real vampire and that Vampire Hunter was going to kill her. But he's gone back to his video game, and there's a doctor that comes in, and he's got like blue face paint. So I'm guessing he's probably a zombie, which you don't really get the blue face paint zombie very often. It's kind of like the original Day of the Dead type thing, and Z Nation had that with their main zombie character. So I'm gonna call this Dr. Zombie, but he walks in with Neckbeard from earlier in the film, who was one of the people trying to be fake vampire chick's roommate. So just how deep was this plot that they were trying to get? Makes me wonder if the black girl was also part of trying to get into be her roommate as a ruse to get the vampire hunter in to kill her. Is this a whole clan of vampire hunters and they all like focused in on her? So vampire hunter has twin brother just in a nondescript warehouse, as so often happens. Well, maybe just a nondescript house. Either way, it's just someplace that's abandoned, and he's got twin brother all tied up, hence the name of this chapter. And then he just goes into kind of a painfully long diatribe about why vampires need to be stopped because they're going to enslave humankind. And all right, skip. Now, Punjabi best friend, he has a flat tire, so he can't drive over himself. So he catches a ride from the blue Dr. Zombie, which, I do hope he's a zombie, because as I was just bitching about, the title does have a Z instead of an S. So there better be a zombie to justify that Z. And so Punjabi friend comes inside, and after a little bit of trouble, they manage to tie him up, hence another part of the all tied up title. He didn't put up any resistance. It's just vampire chick had trouble actually following through with putting the pillowcase on his head so that they can then tie him up. So now he's tied up, and so Dr. Zombie blue guy, he comes up to check on Punjabi friend because it's been a long time, I guess. It feels like it's been... I think it's been like 2 minutes, but it feels like it's been 2 hours because this movie is really, really, really dragging. And I fear we're not going to get any nudity to at least make up for it. Because usually, like in the past, this type of low budget movie would have had like just tits all over the place to make up for the fact of how awful it was. But in the past, 15, 20 years, women realized that, they should actually get paid if they're going to have to show their boobs because it's only right. I mean, it's only fair that they get paid more for doing that. So don't get me wrong, I'm not complaining about this them having to get paid more, but I'm just pointing it out that so now women kind of demand a higher paycheck. So a lot of these low budget movies no longer have like as much gratuitous nudity. And now we're into chapter 4, which is called Let's Make a Deal, which I'm going to go ahead and venture a guess that they're going to make a deal. Or at least try to make a deal where they're going to switch, offer up twin brother in exchange for Punjabi best friend. So let's see if they will go through with this deal. And so Vampire Hunter is torturing twin brother by giving him retelling the plot of Abbott and Costello meets Frankenstein. And I don't think he's so much trying to torture him. It's just kind of the side effect of him torturing me having to sit through this. Now back to the girls who have kidnapped the good doctor, who turns out he's a veterinarian, which leads to this kind of painful exchange where he says he's a vet. Vampire cheerleader confuses that for a veteran and says that he's bad because he shot at people. And then he says, "No, I'm a veterinarian." And she says, "Oh, yeah, oh well, my last boyfriend was a vegan, and I can understand, but it gives him a lot of gas." And he has to explain that veterinarian is not a vegetarian. And my God, now I hate vampire cheerleader. She was so cool. I thought she was hot, but the more we see, and the more annoying she is, her hotness level has kind of dropped to like a 2. Personality goes a long way with me for hotness, so her annoying personality has just dropped her way down. And turns out he's not a zombie. He's just got that condition that has blue skin, like that one guy that was on the news everywhere like 10 years ago because he ate too many blueberries, I think, and it turned his skin blue. I don't know if it was too many blueberries. It was something like he had too much zinc in his body or something. So the doctor's got that. So I'm going to go back to hating on the title Vampz with a Z because apparently there's no zombies in this film. So fake vampire chick and vampire cheerleader are carrying Punjabi friend and blue doctor to the meeting place. Meanwhile, Vampire Hunter is now gone off on some tirade about how there's reptilians, although he's calling them reptoids, within the film, enemy of the state, which they're not shown on screen, they're just off screen running everything. And my God, this film is getting worse and worse, but not in a good way. Just, my God, I mean, I feel more tortured than twin brother is. Except, I'm not tied up, so I could just really leave and walk away from this. Why do I torture myself this way? And there's some stranger just walking around the corridors on, I guess, the other side of the building. And I'm guessing he's going to be important because he's completely in the shadows. We can't see anything about him. But there's that ominous music. And so this whole Mexican standoff is just, it's a shit show, but a boring shit show. So Blue Doctor managed to untie himself, and he's taken fake vampire girl hostage, while vampire cheerleader was about to let Punjabi friend go until fake vampire chick told her, keep focused and keep him. And Punjabi friend, he's trying to leave because he has to go to sleep. He needs to get some sleep for, I guess, going to JCPenney the next day. And but he can't get out of her kung fu grip. No, seriously, that's what he said. So, just to keep tabs on the not so Mexican standoff, Vampire Hunter has fake vampire chick's twin brother. Blue Doctor, not zombie doctor, has fake vampire chick hostage. And Vampire Cheerleader has Punjabi Fred hostage. So let's see who gets out of here alive. I mean, obviously not zombie cheerleader, or sorry, vampire cheerleader, because she's not alive. But as far as the other ones, although Vampire Hunter, isn't he dead? I thought he was dead. Apparently he's. I was hoping he was like undead now. No, but I guess the cocaine just must have kicked in and kickstarted his heart, much like Nikki Sixx. Okay, so they just did something semi-clever. Not all that clever, but considering how bad the rest of this movie has been, I will bump it up a couple points. So, some really generic Bohemian Rhapsody type style song. You know, when they can't get the actual rights to the song, so they have to play something that's kind of similar. So it's playing while, they're all asking to be let go. So it's like, let him go. No, I will not let you go. Let me go. No, I will not let you go. Because the whole Bohemian Rhapsody part. Hopefully, since I'm not singing it, I just said it, I don't have to pay royalties on that. Not that anyone from Queen will find it, but you never know, because I have been hit by copyright claims before on like my obscure YouTube videos. But so, they do the whole thing, and one of them even says, Mamma Mia. So, semi-clever, I will give you points, film, for that. And, well, mystery guy is popped up, and it's Neckbeard. And Neckbeard, he plays some super high-frequency noise that only the doctor can hear, which, by the way, I forgot to mention that Vampire Cheerleader attacked the doctor and started killing him, but he's been saved by Neckbeard, who played this. And I think I mentioned earlier that there's a full moon this night. So, twist of swerves of twist. The good doctor, he's no longer blue from being his blood sucked out by the vampire, but he is a werewolf. And thus begins Chapter 6, Wolfman Blues. I'm guessing because the guy was blue. Personally, if I were naming these chapters, I would have gone with Clap for the Wolfman. But, maybe these filmmakers aren't Guess Who fans. It would be a good title, especially if the Wolfman catches syphilis. Note to self, write something called Clap for the Wolfman about a werewolf that catches syphilis. Actually, the clap is gonorrhea, not syphilis. But still, something to write on. So now the werewolf and the vampire hunt. Werewolf's been chasing everyone all across the building, and now it's up to Vampire Hunter to stop them because they're all closed off and trapped. So we've got a big fight coming on, I think, between Vampire Hunter and the werewolf. The big fight between Vampire Hunter and the blue werewolf is pretty anticlimactic, which, on the one hand isn't surprising because this movie's been pretty anticlimactic every step of the way. But on the other hand, Vampire Hunter's on cocaine. He should have that cocaine rage flowing through his blood, and meaning he should be kicking some serious ass and just beating werewolf to a bloody pulp. Punjabi friend tries to help by hitting werewolf with a stick. Very, very weak ass swings. But I mean, I guess that's clear. Punjabi friend hasn't been either, the strongest or even like the most engaged. He's been pretty disinterested in the entire film, which I don't blame him. And Neckbeard has just sprayed some dog pheromone on Vampire Cheerleader to, I guess, make werewolf all horny or something to go after her. And so, Werewolf is seeming pretty horny about it, and he's grabbed Vampire Chick, and it looks like he wants to get it on. And Neckbeard is live streaming the whole thing because, of course, he is. He's a neckbeard. This is the 21st century. Everything has to go online. And I'm kind of curious where he's live streaming actually, if he's planning on the vampire and the werewolf having sex, just getting it on and on. I wish he had said it that way. It would have been a lot cooler than his "you're gonna see a monster fuck." But I don't know. Is there a place where you can live stream porn? I mean, is it going straight to his like Pornhub account or something? Because I mean, it can't be like Facebook Live because they'll shut that shit down. I learned the hard way. Fake Vampire Chick has managed to wrest away the dog pheromone and spray it onto Neckbeard himself, which makes Werewolf super horny and jumps on Neckbeard guy and ass rapes him. And even though it's seen off camera, Vampire Chick, who got on the live stream, or fake Vampire Chick, got on the live stream and said there's some new doggy action going on, so has to be ass rape, doing it doggy style. And I don't want to make assumptions or stereotypes here, but I'm guessing that the werewolf was gay, because he jumped on Neckbeard much, much quicker than Cheerleader. Or maybe he respected Cheerleader more and wanted to kind of woo her, because he didn't go right to the boning action. But Punjabi Friend gets a good line in, says, "So much for Asian stereotypes." Get it? Because Asian stereotypes is they have small dick, so I'm guessing werewolf has a huge, humongous fucking werewolf cock. And I'm glad we didn't see it. Honestly, I kind of zoned out at the end there for the last 5 minutes or so. I think they all decide that, they're going to team up for the future, happy ending, group hugs, blah, blah, something. And for some reason, there's an after credit scene because the filmmakers must have thought very highly of themselves to think that someone would have sat through all the credits just to see the after credit scene. I fast forward through it to see if there was any, because fucking Marvel has ruined everything. They see, oh, people love that there's after credit scenes on Marvel. Let's do it too. And they're never as good as Marvel ones. And yeah, Marvel didn't start it, but they popularized it. And I don't know, fuck it, fuck them all. Fuck you, Vampz. Fuck you for using a Z when there were no zombies in your film. But not a fuck you to you who decided to listen through all the way. I thank you.